fought the law, and the law won.
Edona Thaqi, welcome to Gabby Hour, and thank you so much for being on it. I always started off with introducing the guests based on how I met them, because a lot of my guests, of course, are from networking or just being friends. And I like to say that we're good friends from networking. Long story short, one of our first guests, Manuel Berbari, you went to school with him at Fordham, and he
Yeah.
hooked me up with you. In his words, says she is up and coming. I think you can learn a lot from her. And sure enough, I have, and I did. Got a lot of contacts from you as well, and have been following your journey and your successes right now. So thank you so much for being on the show. I cannot wait to catch up and talk to you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, Emmanuel's a great guy. We did go to Fordham together, so it feels like ages ago. But thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And you started off, you're from Stamford, Connecticut, so obviously big basketball town there, and played basketball at Fordham. So I want to know, what was the decision making in college? I know recruiting is a beast in its own. So what made you decide on Fordham?
Yeah, for me, my college recruiting wasn't the traditional get recruited, go to college, have all these options. I tore my ACL 3 times, so out of high school, I tore junior year, which is like a huge recruiting year. A year later, exactly, I tear it again, exactly a year later. So I was a senior at this point. I was going to go to prep school for a year, and then I decided that it wasn't worth it because I had gotten hurt again. So fast forward, I actually went to UConn Avery Point for a year, which was a junior college, trying to keep this dream alive of playing Division I basketball. And at that point, I feel like many people would be like, you know what, this is not for me. Like, it's not working out. So I'm just going to go to school and not play basketball. But for me, that was just like never in my books. Like, I was like, I'm either going to play D1 basketball or a D1, D2, whatever it is. I wanted to reach my goals. So eventually I ended up walking on to Fordham actually, and I became a scholarship player. Those who know, like, a walk on is not an easy journey by any means. You're not expected to play, you're sit on the bench, and you're just kind of doing all the hard work without the reward of the playing time. But I took it as a challenge, and I wanted to bet on myself because I believed in myself and I felt like I could do it. So yeah, I chose Fordham because it was close enough to home. My family's Albanian, and we're big on family, so I like really wanted to be nearby and have my parents come to games, and that was one of the biggest reasons. And also the coach, Coach Gately, was just such a family person type of coach, and the culture she built at Fordham and the type of coach she was on the court really stood out to me.
I remember when I was reading about your bio and kind of coming up the ranks, walk on Fordham. It was not easy for you, which of course it's not easy for anyone as a walk on if you have the wrong mindset. For you, you
Yeah.
got school wide recognition for your attitude on the team. And I want to get into, something like that. It's not, you don't teach that, right? So for you at that time and using that attitude post basketball playing, how have you been able to kind of use that as an advantage?
Yeah, for me, sometimes a lot of people look at their journey and, I wish I didn't tear my ACL 3 times. I wish I could have been a scholarship player. And there's a lot of things I could have wished throughout my playing career. But now I look back on it and it's taught me a lot about myself. The first things first, it's like, what are you willing to endure and sacrifice to get to where you want to go? And then you need to see, what is it going to take? What is all the work that it's going to take to get to your goal? And then after knowing all those things, is it still your goal? Because sometimes people have this big goal, big dream, and then they realize, oh, they got to do this and this. I sat for 4 years on the bench, but I still showed up to practice every day. Most people don't want to do that, and that's okay. But for me, I realized that I really just loved being a great team member, being a leader on the court, whether I was playing or not, and how could I help other people. And I realized that the things I went through, it's not really for you. Sometimes it's to help somebody else that gets to that same mile marker. So all those tangible things of just being an indispensable team member, it all plays out in the real world. Sometimes things don't go your ways. You don't get the promotion you want. You don't get the job you want. You don't get the opportunity. And I feel like because I had been rejected and had a lot of adversity throughout college, that when I got to the real world and I did hit adversity again and rejection, that it just felt like a redirection for me. Okay, how can I just shift my mindset now and just attack the next door that opens up?
Now, as you said, you're moving on to the real world. Was broadcasting always on your mind? Was that the goal? And we'll obviously get into what you're doing now, but of course we have to start from the ground up. But
Yeah.
can you just extend on that a little bit?
Yeah, I love when people ask this because I never sought out to be a broadcaster. I was in college, for similar to, just networking a bunch, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I majored in economics, and then I realized senior year when I tore my ACL that third time and I really had to like dig deep and just figure out who I am, what I want to do. I realized that I actually hated finance, and I was like, this is boring. I don't want to do finance, and I knew that I could make more money doing it, but it just wasn't something I was passionate about. So I knew I wanted to be around sports, but I didn't know to what capacity. And I was networking a lot at the NBA. So I was fortunate that came across, her name's Kathleen. She also played basketball at Fordham, but we were connected. And then the job opened up at the NBA offices, which was broadcasting, but it was behind the scenes. And we joke around now because I almost didn't take the job because I was so like, what is broadcasting? What am I going to be doing? Am I going to be holding a camera? Like this, it was just like millions of thoughts running through. And I remember her saying to me, she's like, you may hate it or you may love it, but you should do it because this will give you data and information of like what you actually want to do or what you like. And it was the best decision I made to work at the NBA, even though it was lots of long nights. I was working till 2 a.m. Friday nights, Saturday nights. I couldn't be out with my friends the way I wanted. I was still in spring semester of my senior year of college. So now I finished basketball and all my friends are going out having fun. But I was driving to Secaucus, New Jersey to work the West Coast games. So I'm saying all that to say it was a big stepping stone in my career because it allowed me to travel to games. It allowed me to see things firsthand. And every time I was watching a game, I just like really was so obsessed with like how people were talking about the game, what they were saying, how they were breaking down the basketball game. And I remember I was at a Brooklyn Nets basketball game and my job was to mic up the players, mic up the coaches. I was a timeout coordinator and I would basically just like help run things for the national broadcast. And Sarah Kustak, who I love dearly, and she's like a big sister to me now, but she was at the game and I saw her. And it was like a moment that just like flipped in my head. I was just like, wow, you could see her, you could be her. That's what just happened to me in that moment. And I remember I went up to her and I just like wanted to pick her brain and wanted to talk to her and learn from her. But I was so inspired by her and her journey and that she didn't go to school for this. And at that moment, I just felt like, okay, I used to kind of discourage myself and be like, well, I didn't go to school for this. I didn't do this throughout college. I was playing. I didn't have time to do it. I didn't have the reps. But she really gave me that motivation and hope that, I can do this if I put my mind to it. So.
Wow. That is just incredible that you went from not having any experience, just winging it, to now you're this professional, still continuing to grow and prove yourself. And I want to go back to, you mentioned that you had no experience whatsoever, but you
Yeah.
had it. You had a little bit of it in your first, which is, you're not supposed to have it all down pat in your first time.
Yeah.
But were you going based off anything? Like, I'm sure you crammed in a little bit of trying to get some knowledge those 2 days before the first game ever, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was hitting up all the people in the industry that I knew of just like, how does one prepare for this? How do you prep for a game? What do your notes look like? What sometimes, obviously your notes change throughout the course of your career and how you prep for games, but I just realized I was like over prepping for things that I didn't need. But it's always good to be over prepared because that's what gives you confidence and just having the confidence that I know I put the work in this and it's going to show on the broadcast. People are going to know I'm well prepared. I know I have the basketball IQ. I know all the things. And you just try not to be as nervous, but I was super nervous and I still get nervous before every game. If you're not nervous, I think there's something wrong. Like, it means a lot to you.
So those Big East and WNBA games, how did those come about?
Yeah, similar to you, just like networking a lot. I sent a bunch of cold emails and got a bunch of no's, rejections, and I was trying to just get an opportunity. Sometimes you just need somebody to crack the door open and it's up to you to knock that door down. But I was so determined and just invested that I'm going to create my own opportunities. And I always say, you create your own luck by as hard as you work. So the harder you work, the better you have a chance of just getting these opportunities. So Yeah, it's been a long journey. And when I think about it, I'm really only year two into it, and I still have a lot to learn and grow and get better at. But it really is a never ending process of just trying to get better. I always send my film, watch my games back, seeing what I could have done better, what I could have said. And then you hate hearing yourself at first, the first few times, but with reps comes a lot of confidence. So as you start to do it a lot more, it becomes second nature.
So right now you're the color analyst for the Connecticut Sun, for those who don't know, but doing an incredible job, by the way. And I want to go
Thank you.
back. Do you feel like from the first day to now,
Mhm.
have you changed drastically?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh
how?
my gosh. Yeah. I actually remember Mike Breen had said this to me, but he was like, you're gonna feel a big change. Like you either will get better or improve, or you just will hit a plateau, or there will be this big drastic change that you will feel. Like you'll take a big leap. And I feel like I took that big leap specifically into end of college basketball season in this summer of WNBA. But I've realized because when you're starting to do a broadcast, you're a little bit more shy of speaking too much. And, sometimes people joke around, oh, this person's talking too much on TV, or, I wasn't talking enough. Like I was just scared to voice my opinions and voice my thoughts because you don't want to be wrong. And when I realized that, I started to really build my confidence is just I just started to trust my instincts of what I was seeing out there, and I was saying it. And the more times that I just kept doing that, I felt like I got a lot better. But I felt that big jump from the first. I mean, if I when I watch my first clips, I'm like, this is disgusting. And I give myself grace, but I literally am like, oh my God, I can't believe that was where I started. But it's also beautiful to see because that's not just me, that's everybody. Everybody has a story where they're like, oh my gosh, that first game, the first month, the first year, even like it's a big difference.
And is there anyone in the Connecticut Sun organization that you lean on during times of, maybe there is imposter syndrome that comes up once in a while, or, even to check out your film, see what you could do better?
Yeah, I would say my play-by-play partner, Brendan Glasheen, he's awesome. I think it's really important to have great chemistry with the person you're working with. And him and I have just built this great friendship where we could be honest with one another, or if he sees something that like I could have done or said, or just like giving me a feedback even mid-game, like that helps. And I'm still learning. And same with him. Like if I wanted to be teed up a certain way or whatever it is, I think it's just we're always constantly trying to help each other. And I always say you're only as good as your team. And it starts with the producers who give me a lot of confidence. And he my producer Andy, he also like really tries to give me feedback post games, and even like the positive encouragement. Like that goes a long way when somebody just recognizes, hey, that was a good game. Like I really liked how you broke down this play. I really liked your commentary on this possession. That also helps, having that positive reinforcement. Just to sometimes it could be a long journey and it could feel lonely, and it's really nice to just have people who remind you that you are where you're supposed to be, and you just got to keep sticking with it, keep pushing, and keep stacking days.
And being on the court for all of their home games, are
Yeah.
you close with any of them? Like, do you interact with any of them? You are a former player yourself, so I
Yeah.
would imagine you know a few people in the WNBA.
Yeah, no, I definitely interact with them. Super nice. They're all really friendly. And yeah, you just start to build relationships with them. The more you talk to them, they get to know you as um your home they're broadcast people. So like obviously we want to shine light on them and make them look great. So they know what it comes with. Like even when I talk to them pregame trying to get the best storylines or the information, and I think they're great with it because it makes a difference of how they're perceived too now, especially with all the social media stuff happening. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely would say I've gotten become friends.
Awesome. That is so cool. And switching gears now, you mentioned a little bit before you got roots in Albania,
Hmm.
Kosovo specifically.
Yeah.
You have a camp there, but I
Yeah.
want to go before the camp. You also played for the national team. So you were in the
Mhm.
FIBA League for a little bit, and you
Yeah.
also were assistant coach there too. Just tell me all about your experience and why you're giving back to, where you're from and your roots.
Yeah, so my family, born and raised in Kosovo, they immigrated here when in their early 20s. I was born and raised Stamford, Connecticut. This is where I've been my whole life, but my parents always spoke Albanian at home. So my culture was just like always ingrained in me, and it was kind of in my face everywhere. So every summer since I was a little girl, we used to go back home and I used to visit family, used to see my cousins because I have a lot of family out there still. So fast forward, I want to say it was senior year of college. I get a message about wanting to play for the national team, and I needed to get dual citizenship for the Kosovo national team. So this sounds crazy, but I had emailed the president of the country and basically just, I know it sounds wild, but
It's just networking at its finest, right?
yeah, emailed the president, was able to get in touch. I was actually in her office, but I got the president's degree, which basically just meant she granted me citizenship within 2 weeks. So I was able to get citizenship. I played for the national team. And that experience itself was really what shifted things for me, because I realized that there was so much talent, so much potential. And it really made me think of, had I been born and raised in Kosovo, I probably wouldn't have had the same opportunities that I have now. And I've been super privileged by my American education and just being able to live in America and have these opportunities. But I just found that the girls were constantly asking, what's it like to play Division I basketball? What's it like to work at the NBA, to travel to these games, to do this and that? And it really broke my heart, because I'm like, everybody should, be given these opportunities, but as long as you work hard and obviously make the most of it. But I just really wanted to make a difference. And then I called up one of my coaches and I was like, I really want to run a basketball camp here. I don't know how. And it's funny, I actually looked back on one of my journals, but in 2016, without even remembering it, but I wrote that I want to run a basketball camp in Kosovo. Wow. And I don't even know why I had written that or why I said it. Like, there was no experience for me to like be like, oh, I want to run a basketball camp. But then a year later, this is actually when I met Sarah too. And one of my good friends, Felicia Porter, her husband, Keith Porter, who's now the player development coach for Indiana Fever, but they all saw this vision of mine and really thought it was amazing. And they wanted to be part of the solution and help make a difference for the next generation. So I actually laugh about it because I'm like, I just had this vision. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make this happen, but we're going to make it happen. But I'm so thankful to them for just investing their time and their efforts to do this, because at the end of the day, like, they don't know about Kosovo. Kosovo's my home country, and they're coming to support me, but also just impact people the way that they've been impacted. So yeah, I ran this basketball camp. We had about like 90 to 100 kids, I would say, throughout the course of the week.
That is so beautiful. Sports are awesome. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. And you're gonna continue this camp, of course. Do you have any, big plans? I'm sure this year you just came off it, actually. So this year was probably a great hit. What's next year's vision look like?
Yeah, so this past summer, we had Sarah, and then we had Devin Harris, who was really, really good friends with Sarah. And she was able to convince him to come through. But he came over, and obviously he had a 15-year NBA playing career. He was a 5th overall pick. So just for the kids to be able to talk to someone like him, and Sarah being a first female TV analyst too, just to have those opportunities to talk to two people like that, I think it just makes a difference. Like, it just gives them a different type of hope and inspiration. So it was super cool. Kids loved it. It was year 3, year 4, hopefully, just to keep, bringing in new faces and make it bigger and better, and just continue to build this heritage basketball academy.
That is so cool. Is there any way that people can support you guys?
Yeah, so I fundraise for it. That's what I do. I usually start that in the middle of the winter, but that's kind of the efforts. Is a lot of my fundraising has been on my own. I fundraised $15,000 to make this happen. And it's crazy when I think about it that it actually happened. But yeah, so it's a lot of work, but it's nice when you see the kids all happy and smiling, and you just realize that this is what it's all about.
You have 2 seasons under your belt right now. The second one's coming to an end in a couple weeks. But I want to ask you, what would you continue to keep telling your former self coming into these new seasons?
I would just keep telling myself to be patient, because I think sometimes we want to get to the next thing, the next goal. And I actually listened to this podcast lately, but it says, I'll be happy. Simon Sinek talked about, I'll be happy when I X, Y, and Z. And, I'll be happy when I maybe get this next gig, or I'll be happy when I do this or that, or whatever it may be. But I think it's just so important to really trust the process and enjoy the journey and just not worry so much about the outcome. And that's what I continue to tell myself even before games. Don't worry about how this game's going to go. Just take it possession at a time, play by play, and the rest will take care of itself. So that's my biggest thing, is just staying patient and trusting the process.
That's awesome. Great words of wisdom from the wise Edona Thaqi. Thank you so much for being on the show. All of her information, all of the camp information, if we can get it, which I am sure is there a website?
No website, but there's an Instagram page for it. So
we'll be getting that in the description as well. Find everything all about Edona. Catch some Connecticut Sun games as well in the description too. I'll link those there too. So thank you so much, Edona.
Thank you.
You enjoy the rest of the season.
That was awesome.